Have you ever wondered if there's like a secret script for building an empire? Well, it turns out there kind of is. And whether you're a tech CEO in Silicon Valley or a crime lord hiding in the shadows, the steps to get to absolute power, they look disturbingly similar.
So get this. This quote comes from a cartel accountant, a CPA who went from a boring cubicle on the 48th floor to laundering billions for some of the most dangerous organizations in the world. And that quote, it just perfectly sets the stage, because it completely blurs the line between a legal system and a criminal enterprise.
So that's really the central question we're going to dig into. Are these two worlds, the corporate one and the criminal one, just different dialects of the exact same language of power? Okay, let's dive into this.
You see, every journey to the top, whether it's a trillion-dollar company or a global criminal network, it doesn't start with some grand, sweeping vision. Nope. It begins with the simple hustle of making that very first dollar.
Okay, picture this. It's 1889. There's a guy standing on a wooden crate in some dusty town square, and he's selling Dr. Johnson's Golden Elixir. What is it? It's basically a bottle of muddy creek water, some cayenne pepper, and a few drops of opium. He makes a quick $50 before the sheriff runs him out of town. That $50? That's the seed.
All right, now let's fast forward to today. To the digital age. You've got a bored teenager, totally invisible behind the Tor browser, who finds the source code for an unreleased video game just sitting on an abandoned server. They flip it for $200 in Bitcoin. It's the exact same principle. You're creating value out of thin air, and you get that rush of power that just says, hey, I'm smarter than the system.
And what's the ultimate prize for playing this game? Well, this number right here. This is Microsoft's market valuation. From that first sale of a simple little computer program, the game can scale to a level that honestly rivals the economies of entire nations.
So, how does that first dollar grow into an empire? Well, that brings us to the second crucial step, building the machine. And the key point here is making that leap from just being a player in the market to owning the entire game board.
This question right here, this is the light bulb moment for our dark web teenager. After paying a 10% fee to the marketplace where they sold the game code, they have this realization. The real money isn't in selling the stuff, it's in owning the platform where everyone else sells their stuff. And that's the exact same mindset that drove industrial titans to control not just the factory, but the entire supply chain.
Now, in the cartel world, they've got this down to a brutal science. You start as an expendable lookout, a halcón. If you prove you're reliable, you move product. If you're tough, you become a sicario, an enforcer. And if you show you've got a mind for tactics, you become a teniente, a lieutenant leading a crew. It's a corporate ladder, right? It's just, painted in blood.
And you know what? The legit world has its own ladder. Apple started in a garage, a small-time hustle. It nearly went bankrupt before a rival. Microsoft actually threw it a lifeline. Then they created the iPhone. And that move wasn't just about selling a product, right? It was about building an entire ecosystem, a platform that it and only it owns and controls.
At the end of the day, the core strategy is the same no matter what you're selling. I mean, whether you're Andrew Carnegie controlling the steel and the railways, or you're an international arms dealer controlling a network of shell companies and old cargo planes, the goal is identical: control the infrastructure.
Okay, so you've built the machine. Now what? Well, the game completely changes. It's no longer about growth, it's about preservation. The next phase is building impenetrable walls around your wealth, your power, and yourself.
And this is where things get really fascinating. The ultra-wealthy use this complex, and this is the key, entirely legal toolkit to make their fortunes basically untouchable. They borrow against their own assets to avoid income tax, they hide ownership in these confusing webs of LLCs, and they shuffle money offshore. It's financial warfare, and they have all the best weapons.
And this thing right here, the Dynasty Trust, this is the absolute crown jewel of legal armor. It allows a family to lock its fortune away, passing it down from kids to their kids' kids, potentially forever, without the government ever getting a cent in estate taxes. It's a legal way to create permanent generational power.
And of course, the underworld has its own version. El Piso literally means the floor. It's the tax that every single criminal operation in a territory has to pay to the local boss. It's not a legal trust for sure, but it serves the exact same function, a system of permanent tribute that guarantees the ruler's power and wealth as long as they hold that territory.
But the fortress, you see, isn't just financial. It's also about protecting the leader's life. And that often means pulling skilled, legitimate people into your world, whether they want to be there or not.
So imagine this. A veterinarian gets kidnapped. They think they're there to stitch up a dog. But then one of the crime lord's associates leans in and says this to them. All of a sudden, you're the off-the-books personal surgeon to the most powerful criminal in the city. I mean, that's the ultimate form of protection, right? Owning not just the system, but the very people who can keep you alive.
So what happens when you've won, when you're not building or protecting anymore, because you are the undisputed ruler of your empire? This is the endgame.
First off, let's just appreciate the sheer scale we're talking about. These are financial forces of nature. The most valuable public companies on the planet operate on a scale that's just hard to comprehend. In a major cartel, well, it's a multi-billion-dollar global corporation in its own right. The only difference is it doesn't file quarterly reports.
See, at the very top, the leader becomes a ghost. In the legitimate world, they become the philanthropist, applying business metrics to solve social problems, reinventing charity in their own image. In the underworld, they become el patron, the boss, a man of the people who never touches the product but funds local projects. Both are exercises in brand management, about putting as much distance as possible between themselves and the machine they built.
But here's the thing about absolute power. It always has a cost. The dark web kingpin has a panic laptop hidden in his air vent, jumping at every car that passes. The arms dealer checks under his car for a bomb every single morning. The fortress they built to protect themselves, it becomes their prison.
And on the legitimate side, the paranoia is more subtle, but it's just as real. For the person who inherits a great fortune, that fortress of wealth creates its own trap. They never know if their friends are real, or if their successes are actually earned, or if everything in their life was simply permitted to happen by the machine their family built.
Which brings us right back to where we started. From the very first hustle to the final paranoid days on the throne, the playbook is the same. The tools might change, from tax codes to brute force, but the strategy remains. So, when the objective is total control, you really have to ask yourself, do the rules you follow, or the ones you break, ever truly matter?